you keep up with hockey. Are
I,
the, are the or do you?
I literally. It was funny you said that. I was telling somebody the other night. I kind of watched it off and on this season. I mean, not enough to know who. I don't even know who's in what division. But I've been watching a lot of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Well, you can include this in the show just because it's funny. I just want something to bet on. Um, the Rangers are up 3-0 in this series, but it's tied 2-2 in the second period with Washington. Can Ovechkin pull a LeBron and avoid a sweep, or is he going
Ooh.
to get swept tonight? Live line, the Capitals are plus 130 at home, tied 2-2.
He might choke. Ranger From what I've read, the Rangers are
I've
probably
heard
one
the
of
Rangers are pretty good.
the they're one of the teams to beat in the East.
Well, for content's sake, I'm gonna throw a little bit of cash on the Capitals live money line to avoid the sweep.
Okay.
Just because I bet on the Nuggets last night, I thought they would. I thought they would sweep the King, and the King did King things. We obviously have different opinions about that man, but here we are. Um,
So what, like, as of this recording, where in the game, where in this game is it right now? Rangers,
there's it
Rangers and Rangers and Capitals.
is currently halfway through the second period. There's 10 minutes and 25 seconds left, and the score is 2-2. I don't know a whole lot about hockey. I do know that Alex Ovechkin's been at this a long time. I also know that he's one of the greatest to ever hold a hockey stick. Um, but,
What?
but the man's old, you know. And I'm not very deep in the hockey game. If there's any listeners that are deep into that game, please inform me because I would like to know more. I've tried to get in hockey for the last probably 5 or 6 years here off and on. However long ago the Preds made their run to the Stanley Cup, that was the most ever hockey I watched in probably a month span. I watched almost all of their games, but yeah, hockey seems cool. I just can't get into it.
I like it. I've watched a lot of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Not every game, but I try to flip back and forth, especially if the Predators are playing. And boy, did they ever choke this afternoon here on Sunday, up 3-1. Gave up a goal with 2 minutes 47 seconds left in the third period, and the Canucks pulled their goalie with, I don't know, around a minute to go in the third period, and a frantic onslaught. They scored with 6 seconds left in the period, and then scored within like a minute in overtime. And it's just probably the Predators are probably done at this point because they got to go back to Vancouver. They've got home ice advantage if they can find a way to win a couple up there, but they got to win two. Let's see. This was game. So they're up 3-1. This was game four. So game five will be in Vancouver. If they can win that one, they'll be back in Nashville for game six and possible game seven. But they've blown a couple games here. And again, I'm not a hockey expert. I'm pretty new at hockey. I watched a lot of it. I think that was 20, was that 18 or 19 when they went to the Stanley Cup Finals and lost to Pittsburgh?
I think it I think it was 16 or 17. It was before that. Let me look real quick.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Um,
It was the Penguins. I know that because it went to 7 games. We'll have a awkward silence here as we look this up.
I want to say it was
It's
16.
17.
Yeah, 17. Yeah, just a
And
lot of things that happened. That's kind of how I remember that.
Hockey Fever swept East Tennessee and the state
It did. It
in 20.
did.
I remember going to Market Square on top of one of those businesses down there. I don't know which one, and they had it on the wall, and you could sit there and watch it. And I was like, when I never had that on my bingo card. Nathan Neese, negative Neese, going downtown Knoxville. I don't like going to downtown Knoxville, but negative Neese going to downtown Knoxville to watch a hockey game in June. Not on my bingo card. If you had that on your bingo card, congratulations, you got it. But yeah, I've been watching a lot of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I tried to watch some of the NBA. I just can't get into it, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I've been so turned off by it. But the other night, I was going to bed, Harb. Some of the listeners of the show will like this, and I got on the YouTube and I pulled up the 1991 NBA Finals, Lakers versus the Bulls, and they've got every game on YouTube. And I got to about halftime and I fell asleep. But it was game one, NBA Finals, and that I believe that's the game. I haven't got to it yet, but that's when Jordan goes up with his right hand, midair, switches over to his left, lays it up. I think they won that series 4-2 over LA Magic That was Magic Johnson's finals appearance.
I know you hate on the NBA nowadays, and a lot of people do, and for good reason. But the playoffs have been really good this year. I will say that. They've actually started locking up and playing defense. They're calling less fouls. It's actual basketball now. So,
Interesting.
to any of you listening that are like Nice, that like basketball but have been hating on the product recently, the playoffs been really good. Outside the blowouts, obviously, 'cause, I mean it's first round. That's going to happen every once in a while. But the scores are not 140 to 127. Most of the scores have been like 103 to 92.
I
You know,
saw this. I saw
like
the
actual,
Celtics. The Celtics beat the Heat 104 to 84 yesterday.
that's an actual basketball score. You know, so they're starting to like the refs and the players. You know, they both know. You know, like they're actually starting to play legit basketball, and it's not rec league anymore. So,
Well,
um,
good.
the NBA playoffs, in my opinion, is one of the best playoffs in sports. I know I'm probably in the minority in that. I'm a huge basketball nerd. I love basketball. Now I'm also a Celtics fan, and if we don't win it this year, this core's never going to win one. I'm going to go ahead and get that out of the way at the beginning of the show. So hopefully we beat the Heat in five, and then after that we go from there. But with that,
I'll probably start watching here once the Preds are eliminated from the NHL, from the Stanley Cup playoffs, not the NHL playoffs. Probably tune in a little bit more. Um,
watched uh I watched the Bruins and the Maple Leafs last night. That was pretty fun to watch.
there's been some good series. Seriously, I mean, if you're not watching hockey, and a lot of people diss on hockey because it's a little. Some people I know like it's soccer on ice, but I think it's got a lot more action than soccer. I mean,
I love
it's a pretty
watching
fast
soccer.
paced game.
I love watching soccer. I know I'm in the minority of that, especially here. But with that being said, Nice, what do we have on the docket this evening? What are we going to talk about?
Well, you asked me that earlier, and I didn't really know, but Tennessee, we've not recorded in what, a couple weeks. Last week you were work whipped you like an old government mule, and
Up there.
I was having voice slash throat issues. I lost my voice toward the end of last week, and I don't know if I got sick earlier in the week, and I don't know if it's allergies or all the pollen, or I actually got sick, but I couldn't hardly talk into the week. And I had to announce a couple Carter games last week, and I don't know how I did it. Like I would be talking, and my voice would just skip out and go away, and they called me the golden throat. I don't know if that's a good term or a derogatory term, but
I've heard that about you.
so yeah. But It was a struggle. I'm not sure I could have recorded last week, honestly. I couldn't hardly talk, but um I say let's do this, Harbin. We're right in the middle of baseball season and softball season, and Tennessee has got legit. I said this in basketball all year. These two teams are in the same breath as the basketball team. They are legitimate national championship contenders. Will they get there? I don't know. Will they win it? I don't know. But they're in that conversation. So I guess let's start with baseball. We hadn't been on in a couple weeks. And so a couple weeks ago, they were getting ready to go up to Kentucky. And Kentucky was all the rage of the SEC land. They were 15-1 in conference play. They were ranked third in the nation. They were one spot ahead of the Volunteers in the SEC standings and in the national rankings. Kentucky won on Friday, 5-3. But then Tennessee came out and won on Saturday 9-4 and won on Sunday 13-11 behind a historic performance, really a historic weekend from Christian Moore. He had 4 total home runs on the weekend. I think he was like 9 of 15, something like that. But he hit 3 home runs on Sunday en route to a 13-11 win. And then Kentucky goes on the road this weekend at South Carolina and loses 2 out of 3. So they're coming into the Tennessee series 2 weekends ago, 15-1, and they left that series and the South Carolina series this weekend with a 16-5 record. And now Tennessee has swept Missouri, took 2 out of 3 from Kentucky, and are now 1 game back of the lead in the SEC East. I believe they are 1 game. Let me look at this here real quick. I believe they're 1 game back overall in the SEC. Yes, they are. They're tied with Texas A&M at 15-6, Arkansas 16-5, and Kentucky 16-5. So overall in the conference, they're a game back. In the East, they're a game back with 3 weekends left to play. We've still got a home game this week with Western Carolina. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong schedule. Oh, let's see here. What happened, Harbin? My schedule has frozen. Oh, I'm sorry. We got Lipscomb this Tuesday. We've got Florida on the road in Gainesville next weekend. Then they host Queens for their last non-conference home game. And then they're at Vanderbilt. I'm sorry, that's not the last non-conference home game. Then Belmont comes to town. That one is the last non-conference home game. And then we host South Carolina the 16th, 17th, and 18th in Knoxville. So very winnable series coming up. I mean, Vandy's right there with us. They're not unbeatable. Florida's down this year a little bit, still very good. And then South Carolina's ranked. So, and then the softball team, I think, has wrapped, maybe not. Thought I had that pulled up, Harbin. I apologize to the listeners. Very unprepared. Lady Vols are a game up in the standings. They're 16-5 overall. Texas A&M's 15-6. Believe the SEC tournament starts here pretty soon for the ladies. Is that next weekend, Harbin? Am I wrong? It's May 7th through 11th. So that's next weekend. So Lady Vols are the 1 seed in the SEC tournament.
Next week, yeah.
Next week. Or sorry, not the next weekend. The week after.
Well, it's the week. Yes, it's
it starts on a Tuesday.
Yes.
So I believe the ladies are the 1 seed, if I'm reading this correctly, because I don't think they have any games until then. I'll have to double check on that. But any thoughts on baseball or softball, Harbin? We hadn't been here in a while. What do you think?
Baseball team looks really good. It's the standard now. It's been standard for the last, give or take, 5 years, 4 years.
Yeah, 5.
We have a Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire type
Yes.
home run race between Blake Burke and Christian Moore. I stole that line from you.
I tweeted that a couple weeks ago. It kind of reminds me of that because how those two went back and forth that season in '98, and these two have done the exact same thing.
Yeah. So I'll give you credit on that. It's incredible that we have those two guys on the same team. I would assume Christian Moore is what, 3 or 4 ahead of Blake Burke in the all-time home run
he's
record right
he's
now.
at yeah, he's at 3. I think
But
Moore
as of
has 47 and Burke has 44.
yeah, so Christian Moore is 3 ahead of Blake Burke for career home runs. For those that don't know that are listening, um, as of probably a week and a half ago, those two were tied for the most home runs in program history, and we both have them on the same team, along with an incredible starting pitching staff and an incredibly deep lineup. Um, I know this is wild to say, and I'll eat crow if I have to, but in the Tony Vitello era, or really any era, this is the best team that we've had that can kind of put together a run, and we've said that for like the last probably 3 years or so. And it's kind of like an embarrassment of riches with the baseball program. I feel like that's the best way to put it. We squarely put ourselves, in my opinion, a top 5 baseball program in the country, um, give or take a little bit. Um, but if I had to critique a little bit, our bullpen's hit or miss. Um, Sometimes it feels like if we don't score 8 or 9 runs, we can't win, which is obviously not the case. That's just how Tennessee fans' brains work. But we've lost a few high scoring games. Like we've given up 8 or 9, and we've scored, I don't know, 6 or 7, for example. And we've lost some close games, but really do feel good about this team. I like their attitude. I like their potential the most. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be in Omaha come late May, early June, whenever that is.
So I think it was Rocky Top Insider put out, was it last week maybe, that they did a side by side comparison of the 2022 team statistically and this year's team. And this year's team offensively is not, and this is kind of mind blowing to think, but they're like, they're way better than the 2022 team offensively. Average home runs, all just look. If I can't find it and put it on the video, look it up. I probably retweeted it on our account at Section YY8. Um, the only difference in these two teams is the that team's pitching was considerably better than this team's. Not that this team is bad. I mean, their ERA is still below 4 for a team ERA, and probably dropped over the last weekend, giving up a total of 5 earned runs the whole weekend. So their ERA probably even dropped even lower this past weekend. But that 2022 team, I think, had a deeper pitching staff, had some more dynamic arms than this team does. This team's still very good. I do question their depth in the pitching rotation. They've really only got one legitimate weekend starter right now. I mean, that's Drew Beam. He's not been all that incredible. He's been very good. But you think about even last year's team, they had Chase Burns, Drew Beam, and Dolander. And Dolander and Burns are gone. And then the year before that, they had those two guys. And this team's just not, it doesn't have that depth. That's the only thing that worries me about this team. They're kind of doing it by committee right now. They're starting Stamos on Friday nights, getting 2 or 3, 4 innings out of him, bringing in either Combs or AJ Russell out of the bullpen. Or I'm sorry, not Russell. Causey out of the bullpen. And so they're kind of piecemealing it together, and it's working right now. I mean, it worked at Kentucky. And the Beam is starting on Saturday, and then they're coming back on Sunday with Seacrest, Xander Seacrest. They're just kind of hodgepodging it, patching it together, and it's working right now. Is that sustainable once you get into tournament play? I don't know. It just depends on matchups, who you're playing. Last year, what carried the team late was some timely offense and bringing in Dolander and Burns to mow down everybody, especially in that Southern Mississippi regional. So they don't have that this year. Drew Beam's not really overpowering. He can be at times, but he's also, to me, he seems like a contact pitcher. And he's got to have a solid defense behind him, and he can't just serve it up over the middle of the plate, or he's gonna be in trouble. But I think this team can go to Omaha. Um, I don't know. I don't know yet if they've got the pitching to win it all, but I think they're a legit threat to get to Omaha and a legit threat to be one of the final eight, at the end of the season. They'll unless they collapse here late, they'll host a regional, and possibly if they win that, a super regional. They're going to be one of the top 8 seeds. I think last week they were at 4. So even if they hosted a regional here and won, I think they had them projected to play 13 seed Duke in a super regional here in Knoxville. So, very legit opportunity to get back to Omaha. The path's going to be laid right out for them. It depends on how they finish the season. But they've got a legit shot to get there for the third time in 4 years, which is crazy to me that our baseball program's at that point right now. Somebody tweeted this afternoon, Harbin, they're already talking about what the roster will look like next year, because Tennessee right now has 6 top 100 players in the projected MLB draft coming up. And I didn't comment on it, but I was like, why are you worried about that? Like, they're just going to reload. I keep thinking every year, like, it's going to come back down to earth at some point, and we're going to be down a little bit. But so far under Vitello, with the way he recruits, he's got stockpiles waiting in the wings, and plus he's able to hit the portal and get what he needs. So I don't see this ride ending anytime soon, as long as he's here.
I don't either. Like I said a few minutes ago, I think we've squarely established ourselves as a top 5-ish program in the country. Which, if you look at longevity, we might be a little bit higher than that. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna have a lot of guys get drafted every year because we're good. But what a lot of people need to understand is we have a lot of dudes that are coming in and that are sitting behind these guys, learning from these guys that are just as good with the same amount of potential, if not higher, that can fill in their shoes.
Just
You know,
just remember a couple years ago on that 2022 team, Christian Moore would come in and pinch hit or pinch run, things like that. Now he's the man. And Blake Burke was on that team, and he would, I think he DH'd. He
I was about
definitely
to
wasn't playing in the
say,
field.
correct me wrong, but a couple years ago, Blake Burke was DH hitting in like the 7 or 8 hole.
Yeah, he was. He's
And now,
totally made himself into a hitter, not just a power hitter, but he's a he's a hitter now.
yeah, I
And
don't know.
last year Tears was coming off the bench, pinch hitting here and there. He's a regular everyday starter, probably going to be drafted next year or this year.
I mean, there's been guys come through like, say, Evan Russell, Maui Ahuna. Obviously, I'm going to forget a few, but every time they leave, they're like, oh my God, how are we going to fill it? Or like, how are we going to replace them? And then when the season gets a month in, you don't forget about those guys, obviously, but you're like, oh yeah, we're going to be fine in that position. You know, um, like I said, it's kind of an embarrassment of riches.
The one I think of, Harbin, is I had to look him up just to make sure I said his name right. Was Jared Dickey last year.
Yeah,
Remember, left-handed bat. Got a lot of clutch hits. Was a great hitter. And I was like, man, how are they going to replace that guy? Like Dylan Dreiling has just filled that spot and just rolled with it.
yeah,
And I mean, why are we to think that's not going to continue next year or whenever? I'm not worried about next year. I'm worried about this year. Um, but you got to look at. I mean, it's like we say all the time with Tennessee basketball. It's not. There's no reason or expectation to rebuild anymore. It's just let's reload and try it again next year.
yeah. I mean, that's where we've established ourselves. You know, that's where we're at. Um, and it needs to get to which we have battered Vol syndrome. You know, we keep waiting for the plateau or the fall off. You know, as long as Tony V's here, we're going to be national title contenders and obviously SEC contenders. Which, if you're contending for the SEC in baseball, it's going to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I mean, I think last year, like the top what 6 or 7 seeds hosted a regional, which
Hmm.
is unheard of, and it's even worse than softball. You know, we'll just see how it shakes out. If you have to have one knock on Tony V's teams, they tend to kind of flatten out in the summer. Um, but you'll take that opportunity every time you can get it. You know, as long as you're there, you know anything can happen. You got to play. You got to play every inning. You know, so
Like my uncle always says, you look at all. He sent this out to one of our text groups a couple weeks ago, and it was the winter season national champions, and it had all these different teams listed on it winning. And he was like, another season, no national title. He was like, you would think at some point a program like an athletics department like Tennessee would stumble into one at some point, especially with as much success as we over the past 5 years that we've had in a lot of different sports. And I think we're right there on the cusp of it. And at some point, the dam's going to break. I mean, you look. I was telling my dad yesterday, Tennessee could and should have baseball and softball in the College World Series. So you're down to 8 at that point in both. So legit chance to win it right there. I think softball probably has a better chance to win it than baseball right now, but baseball can do it too. Um, Hopefully we won't run into a Paul Skeens or that guy from Virginia this year. We always seem to run into one dominant, like future MLB All Star arm. Um, but you're going to run into that when you get to that level. But I mean, what if both of those teams went to Oklahoma City and Omaha and won it, and you had the baseball and softball team bringing home national titles? That would be crazy. But they both got a legit shot to do it. I'm not saying they will, but they're both right there. And by the way, the ladies have one more series left. I apologize. They play Kentucky this weekend. Kentucky's 8-13 in conference play, and that game is at home, Sherry Parker Lee Stadium in Knoxville, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So there you go. They can wrap up the 1 seed this weekend with a good weekend and win the SEC regular season title for back-to-back for the second year in a row. So there you go. Other quick UT spring sports news: the golf team, as much as we're talking about softball and baseball winning, they choked this weekend. They were the 2 seed heading into match play and lost to 7 seed A&M Saturday morning. Sad, but
right.
they'll get ready for regional play. Hopefully, they'll make some noise in the big dance for the golf tournament. I got a good team. They're right there. I don't know if they're a national title contender, but maybe they can sneak up on some people, make some noise. Local product Jake Hall is on the team. Fun story. I played in a foursome with him in the what year was that? It was the Knox County Am at Three Ridges. I think it was 2013, and he may have been in like 8th grade or something like that. I can't remember. He was little, and he absolutely smoked me. I think I shot like an 85. It was the very first competitive round of golf I'd ever played. I'd never played like playing the ball straight up round of golf. And I was a nervous wreck when I went out. I was like almost shaking on the tee because I was like, man, if I hit this one, behind a tree, I don't get a club length. If I hit it in the rocks over here, I don't get a club length out of the rocks or move it over here 20 feet out. Like I got to play it. Like I was
So,
nervous. I think he shot like 76 that day, if I remember correctly.
so fun story regarding him. Um, it was my eighth grade district tournament. If Jake Minot's listening to this, he will attest, and he is probably chuckling as I say this right now. Uh, yeah, it was district tournament eighth grade. It was at Whittle Springs of all places.
Oh
It
my.
was 18 hole. And that Halls team, which that group of guys that went through Halls is probably top three golf team to ever come through East Tennessee. Yeah, Jake Hall, obviously, who we've talked about. Ryan Hall, who went to South Carolina, was an All American. He's currently trying to make it on the pro circuit right now. Yeah, a slew of other guys that I won't name, but I remember I shot like, I mean, it wasn't great. It was like a 88 probably. And I came in sixth for the tournament. And the funny thing was, the five guys that finished in front of me were 1 through 5 for Halls.
That's
Um,
crazy.
yeah. So, like, I came in sixth. I was really proud. And then I looked up and it was Hall's 1 through 5 men that finished in front of me. And I was like, well, they're going to be pretty good. And I remember that day, Ryan Hall broke his driver. His driver head came off on somewhere between holes like 7 and 10. I don't remember what it was. And he finished the day with a 3 wood, which it was,
Wow.
which is Whittle's not crazy, but he was in the sixth grade. He's a couple years younger than me. And he shot like 2 over that day with just a 3 wood. And I remember being 12 or 13, whatever age you are in eighth grade, just being astonished. I was like, holy hell, this dude's like a sorcerer, which flash forward 12, 13 years, however long it's been, he is a sorcerer with a golf club.
Do
But
you do you think that Hall's team was better than, and I don't know what year it was. It was probably like 04-ish, 03, 04, 05, Jeff County golf team with Jonathan Hodge and Peter Malnati.
that one is also up there. So the three, if we're getting into this right now, the three of my memory, which I'm sure I'm forgetting a few or not aware of a few, would be that Halls team that the majority of them was about a year or two younger than me. And that Jeff County team from about 20 years ago with Malnati, Hodge, a few others. And there was also a Farragut team while I was in high school. The majority of them were a year older than me with Tyler Johnson, Chip Thomas, few of those. I think one or two of them played at UT and Tennessee Tech and a few others. To my knowledge, those are the three best golf teams that have ever come through East Tennessee. Um, Absolute studs, 1 through 5. Um, but yeah, that Jeff County team that you named had some absolute dogs on it. Absolutely.
Looks like Malnati and Hodge are like 3 years younger than me, so they would have probably been in like the mid 2000s. I need to ask Grubb and them what, because Scott Stallings came through in '02. He played at Oak Ridge. I wonder what that team was like back then. Be
Yeah.
interesting to know. And I guess I don't know if their grades or ages worked out. That Carter team, which we always thought, I mean, nobody went pro. Obviously, they had some couple guys go to play college. They were very good, but
Yeah.
going up again. I wonder if they ever cross paths. If you any of y'all are listening, let me know. I'm sure Bell and Grubb are listening. Did y'all ever cross paths with Oak Ridge, Jeff County, and were those guys there when you cross paths with them? I didn't play golf in high school. I didn't start. First time I played was my junior summer between my junior and senior year, and I was terrible. I'm still terrible, but not as terrible as I was back then. So moving on to the portal, let's do a little basketball here, Harbin. We haven't talked basketball yet, even though the season is over. Still a lot of basketball news going on in the collegiate side of things. We talked about NBA just a little minute ago. But Vols have made some. There's been a lot of roster moves since we were here last time, and if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the last time we recorded, you and I spoke about some rumors we had heard about Jemiah Mashak and Jonas Adu. And I think we both said that no way any of these happened. It was literally the next day it came out. Jonas Adu was transferring. He entered the portal. And I don't remember if we talked about Awaka or not, but he's gone. He's transferred.
Awaka was already in the portal last
That's
time.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. So um, just to update where we're at, DeLeon has entered the portal and committed to Penn State. Awaka has entered the portal uncommitted. Adu has entered the portal uncommitted. DJ Jefferson has committed to Longwood, a Tennessee opponent from a couple years ago in the NCAA tournament. And then obviously we lost Connect and Vescovy and Triple J. So there's
I'm gonna fact check you real quick. When did we play Longwood?
it was either 2021 or 2022.
How sure are you on that?
I'm kind of sure.
I don't think we've
Now
ever.
you've got me second guessing myself.
I don't think we ever played them
Hmm.
because
I thought we did because I met Undy and them and watched it.
for comedic purposes, I feel like I would remember that one.
Uh, we did play him in 22.
Did we really?
They were the 14 seed. We were the 3 seed. We beat them 88-56. I knew we played him, Harbin.
Hand up. Was that the year that Hunter Dickinson dropped $1 million on us in the second round?
Yes, because we won the 2022 SEC tournament. So yes, we beat Longwood and then lost to Michigan.
You know.
So there you go.
Hand up. That one's on me.
Oh, well, I mean, it's all right. I like to be fact checked just to keep me in check, to make sure I'm not spewing fake news.
No, I definitely keep you in check. You know, you're a part of FNN, Fake News Network.
Great follow on Instagram, by the way. There is a Fake News Network Instagram. Also, before we get into basketball, I want to give a shout out. One of my new favorite follows on social media is former NFL wide receiver Antonio Brown. His Twitter is fantastic, or X, whatever you call it. It is great. I can't stop looking at his tweets.
I will say, if you're over the age of 18, it is must follow. I wouldn't go as far to say that it's great. It's more tragic, in my opinion. But
Do you think he'll name us Crackers of the Week or Crackers of the
I feel
Day?
like we're up there.
We gotta be.
I feel like we're up there. Dude's an interesting cat. Which obviously everybody dies, and eventually when he does, they're going to do a study on his brain, and football may never exist after that study. I'm gonna be so serious when I
He's
say
even
that.
launched his own network called CTESPN.
That dude is something else.
It is. It's the Caitlin Clark stuff has been kind of wild over the past couple weeks with him. But then he moved on to who was it? Kelsey Plum. It was announced that her and Darren Waller were getting divorced, and so he was shooting a shot with her. And that he was breaking draft pick news before it came out that he was hearing through the grapevine, and it's great. If you haven't, look it up. If you haven't yet, look him up on X or Twitter, whatever it is. It's entertaining. Let me just say it's entertaining. Maybe I shouldn't say it's great. It is entertaining. It's
I
entertaining.
definitely agree with that.
It's entertainment. So, basketball portal news quickly. Tennessee has we mentioned the ones that have left, so they filled 2 spots. And we talked about this young man before or on our last episode before we checked out for a couple of weeks. But Darlin Stone Dubar transferring.
Hello, darling.
Hello, Darlin.
It's
Nice
nice
to
to
meet
see
you.
you. It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. Um, I think they call him D Stone Harbin. Coming out of Hofstra.
I
We
hate to break
mentioned,
it to him, but being in East Tennessee, he's going to get called darling.
yeah. Oh, Darlin. Yeah, he will
I hate,
definitely.
hate, hate to break it to you, old D Stone, but your new name's Darling.
Jeff Jarnigan's going to have his hands full with announcing some of these. I'm not sure how to pronounce this guy's next name that's coming in. I hope I'm saying this right. Felix Okpara or Okpara. I don't know how you say it.
Spell it.
Haven't really looked it up.
Spell it.
Okpara. He
I
is
would assume
a
that would be Akpara.
Okpara. He's a center. Say Darlingstone Dubar is a small forward, kind of filling that, and we mentioned this, kind of filling that Triple J role, and then Felix Okpara, Okpara, however you want to say it, is a center. He's going to kind of fill in that, kind of somewhere in between Awaka and Adu. He's an Adu top shot blocker. He was 7th in the nation last year, blocking shots. He did increase pretty much every number on his stat line last year from the year before. I think he went up 2.2 points a game. He averaged 6.4 a game. His rebounds increased, shot blocks dramatically increased. I think he averaged over 2 shot blocks a game last year. Minutes increased significantly. He comes from Ohio State. So D Stone will have 1 year of eligibility left, and Felix looks like he was a sophomore, so he'll have at least 2 years of eligibility left. There's also a couple other names out there to keep your eye on. Harbin, Chaz Lanier out of the University of North Florida. He played for the Ospreys last year, averaged 19.7 a game, 4.8 boards, 1.8 assists, shot 51% from the field. More importantly, he shot 44% from 3-point range, averaged 33 minutes a game. One other name to keep your eye on, and this is a mouthful to pronounce, Igor Milicic. He has Tennessee in his final 3. He's out of UNC Charlotte. He lists as his final 3 as Baylor, Tennessee, and Nebraska. So pretty good names there on that list. So Rick Barnes is trying to reshape the roster from all the departures we had last year, and I think from what I've heard, for the most part, he's off to a good start. It'd be nice to land this Lanier kid and Milicic. I think there was some outside hope that we would land the Tyson kid out of Belmont, but that was always going to be a long shot because he's from North Carolina. North Carolina was, I think, kind of his dream school growing up. And it was down to Tennessee, Duke, and UNC. And as of this afternoon, he came out and committed to the Tar Heels. I don't think we were ever going to get him. We were one of our finalists, but we're shooting for the stars here, and we're getting some. I think these guys they're bringing in are going to be all right. I don't know. We'll just have to see how they complement the guys that are left on the roster from last year, and I don't know that. Are we going to be as good as last year? I don't know at this point. I got to see the roster. But you look around college basketball, it's kind of unbelievable right now, some of the rosters. I think Duke had 7 kids enter the portal, something like that. What's his name from Arizona has moved on to Indiana, Bello or Ballo. And, Roach from Duke's going to Baylor. I mean, Kentucky is basically reshaping their roster. Arkansas had no one on their roster after Musselman left, so I guess we're just in. This is how college basketball and college sports are going to be from here on out. Unfortunately,
Yeah, dude, it is what it is. Did my boy Kareem, not Kareem, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, did he go to St. Louis?
he did. He went to the Billikens.
I figured as much because
Somebody tweeted like he should have just stayed at Indiana State.
well, Indiana State's head coach left
Yeah.
and took a job at St. Louis. I figured he was following the
Yeah.
coach. It's good for him, you know. Part of me,
St. Louis is in the Atlantic 10. Indiana State is not.
yeah, part of me wanted that young man on Rocky Top just for content's sake. Um,
Yeah.
Good for him. He's following the guy that recruited him, coached him for at least 3 years. I don't know how old the guy is. Hell, he could be 30 for all I know. Good for him. Sticking with the guy and, getting a little bit of an upgrade as far as facilities and the exposure goes. Wish nothing but the best for him.
Yeah. Definitely for sure. I mean, I don't think that kid, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Well, I don't know what's his real name. I don't even know his real
Robbie
name.
Avila,
That's right.
Robbie Avila, I
I'm not
believe.
sure he would have fit in at an SEC school, especially Tennessee. Excuse me. I'm not sure how he played defense, but I mean, nice player, can shoot it a little bit, so good for him. But Tennessee's roster coming into shape a little bit more than it was a couple weeks ago. A lot of question marks. I put out a question on Twitter a couple weeks ago that are you concerned? Is there concern with all the departures? Most people put no. There was a few yeses. Um, but when you look around the landscape of college basketball, is happening everywhere. So really, you can be concerned if you want to, but it's just how college basketball is going to be from here on out. So, um, yeah, we'll see. There'll be a lot more movement over the next couple weeks, I'm sure. The Lanier kid came out and put a do not contact tag on his name, so schools can't contact him, which put more fuel on the fire that he's already decided to come here. So we'll see about that. And it seems like the Igor Milichik's kid is trending toward Tennessee from what I've read. So, and he's kind of a weird player, Harbin. He's a 6'11" kid, but they list him as a small forward. He kind of plays more of a slasher jump shooter type. He's not a back to the basket type player.
I love that. I really do. Um, that's kind of where basketball in general, maybe not as much as the college level, but that's where basketball in general is heading. So I'm a big fan of that. As much as length as you can get on the perimeter is better, in my opinion. Just look at the teams that were successful this year. First of all, with us, on one wing at most times we had Triple J, who's 6'6", which his wingspan is longer than that, and Dalton Connect, which obviously can fill it up. You look at Houston, which they got beat in the Sweet 16, but their best player got hurt in that game. They're very long and athletic. UConn and Purdue, the two teams that played for the national title, they're both extremely long. Obviously, Purdue had shooters plus Zach Edey, but if you look at the teams that are contending right now, you have a lot of length and height on the wing positions, and I do think that's incredibly important in where the game of basketball is going today. I really do.
It'll
So
be
I believe
interesting. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see it'll be interesting to see what Tennessee's roster looks like over the next couple weeks. So we'll definitely keep you updated, and kind of let everybody know where we stand, because I'm sure everybody is really paying attention to basketball recruiting. I would venture to say no one is paying attention unless us diehards are. I know I am. Harb, you want to do a hater and loser of the week?
Yeah, man, I think I've got it.
Who you got? I'll let you go. I will. Let me say before we get into it, since we didn't record last week, I did a poll, hater and loser of the week, and I believe it was between Riley Green, the country music singer, and let me pull it up here. It was between Riley Green and Greg Doyle, who is a sports, quote unquote, sports journalist for the Indianapolis Star. Both of these guys were very deserving. And I'll say this: I like some of Riley Green's songs. But Greg Doyle was very weird and creepy toward Caitlin Clark.
Oh, that was so hard to watch.
It was so weird, very odd. Um, he basically was hitting on her and was wanting her to do the heart symbol with her hands toward him, like when she sees him in the crowd. Very odd. But the winner of the poll, I put a poll out on Twitter, only 29 votes, so it's not scientific, but Riley Green won with 55% of the vote. He performed at a concert in Simpsonville, South Carolina, sang Hell of a Way to Go, which is a song about him and his papaw. He's talking about his papaw, about how he would leave this planet when he passes away. And one of the verses is maybe sitting on the 50-yard line watching Alabama beat the crap out of Tennessee. And so everywhere he goes, he changes the lyrics, but it's always against the Vols. So when he was in Knoxville a couple months ago, he changed it to Alabama gets whooped up on by Tennessee. Well, he goes to this concert in Simpsonville, South Carolina, which is very close to Clemson. My cousin Reagan was at this show, sent me a video. It's on our Twitter if you want to look it up. But he changes it to Clemson beating the hell out of Tennessee, which is factually incorrect. The last two contests in sports that we've had with Clemson, we beat them in the Orange Bowl, we beat them in the regionals in baseball last year, and even in football, if you look at our overall record, we're 12-6-2 all time against the Tigers. So Riley Green, hater and loser of the week last week. Go ahead, Harbin.
I disagree with that.
The people
I've
have spoken.
I'm a Tennessee fan, but obviously I know how irrational and stupid Tennessee fans can be. Um, he's a showman. That's what he is. And newsflash, I don't know if y'all know, but there's not a whole lot of states or schools that can flow with the rhyme of Tennessee. That's just how shit is. That's how the song was written. First of all, he's not even an Alabama fan. He's an Auburn fan.
Correct.
So we share more with him than we think we do.
His papaw is an Alabama fan.
Correct. His grandfather is an Alabama fan. So outside of like a 2-hour radius, man, there's just not a ton of Tennessee fans. I understand we're everywhere, but if you go to a show right outside of Clemson, or if you go to a show right outside of Athens or Lexington or wherever, people are going to go wild when a showman says, watching insert local school name beat the hell out of whatever school name is in the line.
Why are we getting picked on?
Dude, because his papaw's a damn Alabama fan.
Well, his papaw's a loser.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, whatever. Cool with that. But
Kenny
it's
Chesney does this crap too. He goes to put on South Carolina helmets and
Kenny Chesney's you can bleep that out if you want to. I don't
what?
care. What? Dude, people getting mad at Riley Green can calm down. Now, I'm not even the biggest Riley Green fan in the world. Like, his music's fine to me. I don't care, but it's a song, dude.
Hey,
It's
I gave him a shout out when he was in Knoxville because he was a good sport about it because he said y'all are gonna boo the hell out of me when I sing this song. And we did.
uh,
And we
and
did.
and I respect the hell out of him for not changing the lyrics.
So I've seen
Because
it.
well, think about it. If you and we've talked about this before, so I'll keep it quick. If you were a country music singer and you had a song about Tennessee beating the hell out of Alabama, however you made the words work, if you did a show in or closely around Tuscaloosa, you would not change the lyrics to where it was Alabama beat the hell out of Tennessee. You would not do that. So I respect him, at least for the family love part of it, for not changing it. Like it's a song. People are fans of other schools. He's not from here. Like, get the hell over it and move on. Like I'm tired of hearing about it. Like it's a song. It's what he grew up around. It's just like us, but a little different. Just different schools. Like, just chill out, dude. It's calm down. It's dumb as hell.
So Reagan said, now look, she sent this to me that he said, quote, you don't have to be an Alabama fan. You just have to simply not be a Tennessee fan. That was his quote at the Simpsonville concert that night.
Dude, he grew up in the heart of Dixie in Alabama. I mean, what do you expect him to say?
Oh no, I'm not hate. I am hating on him a little. I'm just a little butthurt that we're getting picked on here.
Dude, it is what it is. But hell, if people are talking shit about you, it means you're kind of back.
It is true.
That so just rejoice in that moment and keep it moving.
We're living rent free in people's heads, right, Harbin?
Yeah, exactly. And which we did go a decade and a half without beating them. So the end of his papa's life, he probably didn't see Tennessee lose.
I should
I
write
mean,
a
last time Tennessee beat Alabama, Riley Green was probably like,
in
I'm
diapers.
I'm assuming he's probably,
He's like 35.
yeah, at the most he's 10 years older than me. So he was in high school or maybe college last time, or I don't know how the math works.
I should write a song about us beating Kentucky and everything.
Yeah, I
Back
mean,
to my or call it Can You Imagine?
yeah, for the last 15 years, it's kind of the same shit. I'm just tired of hearing about it.
15,
No, I'm just talking.
30, 40. Somebody, I was laughing the other day, Kentucky fans, and then you can get to your hater and loser. My last story on this subject, but some Kentucky fan was going on about how they had more draft picks or something. I don't know. And I was like, are you literally sitting here like trying to compare these two programs? You all have beaten Tennessee 4 times since 1984. 4 times in my lifetime. I'm 40. Tennessee has lost to Kentucky. It's incredible.
Well, they're just coping for basketball because that's all they had.
True.
And
True.
yeah.
All right. Who's your hater and loser?
So my hater and loser, um, which I kind of feel bad about mentioning this because the people there are probably pretty good people. But this segment that was talked about was probably a top 10 segment in NBA on TNT history. My hater and loser is the people of Galveston, Texas. Um, if you haven't heard, or if you've never watched NBA on TNT, Charles Barkley is notorious for going on rants about random cities. The most notorious one is the big women of San Antonio. TNT has politely asked him to quit talking about. So if you go to YouTube, it's phenomenal. Go listen to it. But a couple days ago, or maybe it was last night, I don't know. But when y'all listened to it, it was a few days ago. Uh, the Pelicans lost to the Thunder to go down 3-0 in the series, and they led in that game and just kind of pissed it away. They kind of gave up, or at least that was Charles Barkley's take on it. And their inside joke when a team goes down 3-0 or when it looks like they're not going to win is they get sent to Cancun. They get an early vacation to Cancun. Enjoy the early summer before it gets too hot down there. Well, Ernie Johnson asked Chuck, he was like, "What do you think about the Pelicans?" And he said, "Well, we ain't even sending them to Cancun." He said, "We're sending them down there to damn Galveston, Texas." He's like, "That dirty ass beach." And I apologize. Sorry for cussing. I apologize for the language, but I'm just quoting him pretty much directly. Said, "Them dirty ass beaches." He said, "You sit down there on the sand and that dirty ass, nasty water washes up on you. You think you're at the beach." He's like, "Hell, you can't even get in the beach." He said, "That's where we're sending you." And Shaq is over on the left, like literally about to fall out of his chair, got the paper all over his face, laughing. I swear to God, it's better than a top 10 moment in Tennessee history. It's probably borderline top 5. If you haven't seen it, please go check it out.
So apparently he apologized tonight, but then went on to make fun of him again.
It's low hanging fruit, and that's Charles Barkley's wheelhouse. But it's just so funny. I do kind of feel bad because people in Galveston, Texas, work hard on the oil rigs and all that jazz. That's why the water's dirty. I'm not going to go any more into the history lesson. If you care more, look it up. But just all time rant. The best quote was, "We ain't sending them Cancun. Their ass is going to Galveston. Them dirty ass water." It's all time. I do kind of feel bad about the people in Galveston, but my hater and loser is Galveston, Texas.
Isn't
For
there
sure.
a country song called Galveston? Is it Glenn Campbell?
Let's look it up.
Look it up and see. I'm pretty sure it's Glenn Campbell. I could be wrong. While you're doing that, I'll give you my hater and loser. This is low
All right.
hanging fruit.
Glenn Campbell, you are correct.
I can't really remember it. I have heard it before, but my hater and loser of the week is low hanging fruit, Harbin. LeBron James. What? He after going down 3-0 to the Nuggets the other night, he was like, "It's just basketball." Can you imagine Michael Jordan ever saying something like that? I can't. He was down 3-0 to saying it's just basketball. Did you see, by the way, Michael Jordan, his one of his NASCAR teams won Talladega last week, and he was super pumped because he's
That
on
is.
he's on the Wizards, he's on the Hornets, and they've never won a thing while he was there, whether that was his fault or not. But he's sold both of those franchises, so now he's investing a lot of money in NASCAR, and his teams have won like 4 or 5 races since he got. But he pretty much said this was like winning an NBA playoff game or winning a series. He was super pumped, which is huge for NASCAR to have somebody like that, on the pit box owning a team. But I couldn't imagine Michael Jordan just kind of shrugging it off. It's just basketball. Maybe it is to him at this point in his career, but anyways, congratulations to your Red Sox. They took 2 out of 3 from the Cubbies this weekend.
Oh, by the way, brother, did you? Sorry, I know you're not on your phone a lot. I don't know if you saw this, but Saturday night the Red Sox won 17-0 against
What?
Cubs. No, the New England Patriots did not drop 2 touchdowns and a field goal and shut out the Bears. That is not what happened. This is April. Um, the Red Sox dropped 17 runs and shut out the Cubs. So I didn't
Yeah,
know if you saw that or
unfortunately I did.
not. Okay,
Coming into this series this weekend, the Cubs were off to their best start since 2016, and they won the World Series that year. But they lost 2 out of 3.
I'm just letting you know if they lose 2 out of 3, the Red Sox are probably not going to win the World Series.
I fully wanted to come on this show this week and be in full Cubs uniform. I just wore this shirt, but I knew we were probably not we. I knew the Cubs were probably going to fall tonight because when I came in here to record, it was 4-1. I think they ended up losing 5-4 on Sunday Night Baseball. So, anyways, well,
Oh,
Harb.
by the
Oh,
way,
go ahead.
on your hater and loser of the week, not a LeBron guy. By the way, I just want to throw that out there. But I'm more of one than you are, which is not saying much. After that quote, um, they never trailed against the Denver Nuggets, and he did drop 35-4. Just wanted to throw that out
Do you think they'll come back and beat the Nuggets? Take the
there.
series?
Absolutely not. No team's ever come back from 3-0. Absolutely not. Which no team in NBA Finals history had ever come back from 3-1 when they did it against Golden State in 2016. But no. The Nuggets are an absolute wagon. I think they're the best team in the West. I think they're the second best team in the NBA behind my Boston Celtics. Which Celtics are looking good. They bounced back and beat the Heat by 20 after they lost a game a lot of people said they should not have, which I agree with them. Uh, but I also did not think the sky was falling when everybody else did. It's basketball. Shit happens. You play 7 games for a reason. It's very hard to sweep an NBA team, no matter who they are. Um, but yeah, I think the Nuggets are the second best team in the NBA. I think they're better than the Thunder. Um, I think the Timberwolves, surprisingly, are the third best team in the NBA. We haven't said that ever, um, but it's been a very long time since they've been in the discussion. The last time that happened was almost 20 years ago when they had Kevin Garnett and Latrell Sprewell and Sam Cassell and that whole bunch. That's more your era of NBA.
I remember playing what was that NBA game? It was on Nintendo 64 and it had Kevin Garnett. I think was Stephon Marbury on that team, maybe? I can't
He was
remember.
on one of those, yes.
Yeah. But I always wanted to be the T Wolves because they had Garnett. So
Was it
very good
NBA
team.
Jam or was it after that?
No, I don't remember the game. It was like NBA Live 99 or something like that.
NBA Live. That was back when NBA Live was better than 2K.
Yeah. It was a
Uh,
good game. It was a
yeah.
very good game.
Until about 2010, 2011 was probably when 2K was better than NBA Live. But back in the day, NBA Live was awesome. I remember specifically one year, I'll say it was '09. Dwight Howard was on the cover and they had or '08 or '09, they had the Olympic team on there. And you could play like FIBA rules against other countries and just
Oh,
absolutely dominate. Oh, dude, it was unreal. It
pure
was
domination.
Yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, my Capitals bet lost for those listening. Um,
Sad.
yeah, they gave up a goal with about 8 minutes left, and then they went empty net trying to get it back, and then the Rangers poured one on with about 35 seconds left, and that was all she wrote. So it is what it is. It
Yeah.
was it was for the pod. It's for the
Yeah.
pod.
You got to fish sometimes, so you got to
It
throw
was
it
a
out there.
it was a it was a tax write off for the pod.
I got you. Well, Harb, we got a busy week coming up, or at least I do. I don't know about you, but I've got three. Let's see, possibly final three baseball games of the season to announce for the Hornets, and then senior night for the softball team on Monday night, and then three baseball games. So the voice and the throat are going to be put to the test, Harb. We'll see if it holds up.
Heard that before.
I bet you have.
Oh,
What?
what?
What? What'd you say, ET? What? Did you see the real very quickly, and we'll check out. There's I don't know if I sent it to you or not, but this guy gives a wedding speech, and he basically does Stone Cold Steve Austin what
Nah,
during his he was the best man, so he's doing it, and then he crushes 2 beer cans together and drinks them like Steve Austin does. Fantastic. Look it up on Instagram. If I think I sent it to you.
closing thoughts. I've played Ruggles Ferry probably 10,000 times in my lifetime. This past week, I set my personal record out there.
Really? What'd you shoot?
Uh, well, I'm not going to disclose that because I'm still trying to get an
You're on them
adequate amount of
points.
shots on the golf trip. You know, I don't want my points being set ridiculous. Um, but I played pretty well. You know,
So,
if the listeners care enough, you know, they can message me on various platforms and I'll let them know. But that will not be disclosed because I know Burkhart and Bell and Grubb and you and a few others. You know, they don't need to know about. They don't need to know about my game right now. As far as they're concerned, I'm not playing very well right now.
yeah, I played my 4th round of the year this past weekend, and not too bad so far. Low round of 79 a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Some low 80 rounds mixed in there. So nothing too. I'm very pleased with where my game is this early in the season. Let's just say that. But I'm not going to release any scores because my points need to be raised. It's just ridiculous how
Yeah,
low how many points I have to get.
it's absolutely ridiculous. Defund Ryan Burkhart.
And I'm on the committee and I still can't get it knocked down any. All right. Well, that's this week's show. Appreciate everybody listening. Remember, you can get us wherever you get your podcast. And huge shout out to the last couple weeks on YouTube. We've set records with the number of views. The second and third highest viewed show episode in show podcast history, or YY8 podcast history of the last 2 weeks. So, whoever you are, wherever you're listening around the world, thank you for listening. Continue to check us out on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're listening in your truck, your car, the backhoe, whatever you're using, be sure to like and comment on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a good rating, good review. And if you do, maybe we'll send you a little prize pack. And shout out to Coach Rimmer. He won I didn't mention this a couple of weeks ago. He won the bracket challenge. He's got an alumni hall gift card coming his way, a koozie and a sticker, Harbin. So coming his way, Coach. Coming your way, Coach.
Attaboy, Scotty.
I'm not mailing it to you. You live too close to me for me to mail it to you. So I'll give it to you next time I see you, whenever that is. It's sitting on my kitchen counter. It's been there for 2 weeks. So, anyways, appreciate everybody listening. We'll hopefully be back next week, unless Harb's been whipped like an old government mule. Hopefully, I don't lose my voice announcing this week. Go Hornets, go Vols, go Harbin, and whatever you're doing. This has been the Section YY8 podcast. We'll see you guys next week.